it's a little bit different out here when you get Caitlin Clark treatment. It ain't so easy peasy getting to play one-on-one, getting to just do your thing how you want to do it.
The mask just came off. The charade is officially over. And the so-called prophecy that the WNBA desperately wanted you to believe has completely collapsed in front of a national audience. Paige Bueckers, the media's handpicked golden child, the supposed heir to Caitlin Clark's throne, the one they've been shoving down our throats as the savior of women's basketball, just got served the most brutal reality check in recent WNBA history, courtesy of the Seattle Storm. And folks, this wasn't just a bad game. This was a complete and utter exposure of everything wrong with the manufactured hype machine that's been running wild in women's basketball. For months, we've been force-fed this narrative like it was gospel truth straight from a carefully crafted PR playbook. Paige Bueckers.
We saw Paige really get guarded. This is where we saw what is going to happen in year 2. This is the scout report that needs to be out there on Paige Bueckers once the Dallas Wings get good, because Dallas Wings are going to get good at some stage in her career. This was the game where I'm like, okay, we can.
Was the chosen one, they said, the inevitable torchbearer who would not only follow in Clark's footsteps, but somehow surpass her legendary impact on the sport. The media couldn't get enough of this storyline, endlessly pushing the idea that Paige was rewriting basketball history faster than Clark ever did. They pumped her up with headline after headline, painting her as this flawless package of poise, basketball IQ, and surgical efficiency on the court.
Of one Paige Bueckers. Oh, she's better than Caitlin Clark. I mean, stab me in the eye with a spoon, for Christ's sakes. Wow. So that's a thing right now. Last night, Paige Bueckers dropped 44 points. And we're going to look at a video that just dissects and exposes a lot of that shit. Let me tell you. It exposes a lot of stuff involving Paige Bueckers getting special treatment.
But here's where this whole fairy tale gets interesting. And frankly, insulting to anyone who's been paying attention to what Caitlin Clark actually went through. Remember when Paige's former coach Gino Orima made those comments about Caitlin Clark? Those words set the entire tone for how the basketball world treated, or should I say mistreated, Clark from the very beginning. Diana Taurasi even warned everyone that Clark was in for a rude awakening, and boy, did the league take that as marching orders. But while Clark was getting baptized by fire from day one, Paige has been floating through games like she's still playing in a controlled college scrimmage. The media circus reached peak absurdity when Paige managed to reach 200 points and 50 assists just one game faster than Clark did during her rookie season. That single statistic had analysts practically foaming at the mouth, screaming about how much more polished and ready Paige looked compared to Caitlin's rookie year. ESPN was happily selling first-class tickets on this hype train, and even some conservative media outlets.
Diva of Dump Divas Kat Engelbert is breathing a sigh of relief. Her pretend friends in the mainstream media, they are trying to crown a new star. If the media has it their way, this could potentially be the new face of pretend basketball. And it's not just the woke media. There are even some in conservative media who are voluntarily biting into the shit sandwich. Headline at Outkick. No, Caitlin, no problem. Paige Bueckers can save the WNBA.
Outlets that should have known better were voluntarily biting into this manufactured sandwich. Headlines like, no Caitlin, no problem. Paige Bueckers can save the WNBA season started popping up everywhere, as if 6 weeks of basketball could somehow erase everything Clark has accomplished for the sport. Then came that 44-point explosion against the Los Angeles Sparks, and the media lost their
game against the Los Angeles Sparks, scoring 44 points. But the craziest part about that was her shooting percentage. She shot over 80% from the field. And I tweeted about that, and I was like, that's actually insane. Give props where they are due. Shooting over 80%, scoring 44 points is actually insane. But with this game, like, Paige Bueckers she put on a masterclass in scoring. And I think with that, these are some big numbers.
Collective minds. Shooting over 80% from the field while dropping 44 points? Even I had to give credit where it was due, because those numbers are legitimately insane. But here's the thing that everyone conveniently ignored in their rush to crown the new queen. The Sparks weren't playing a lick of defense that night. They were letting Paige play one-on-one basketball all over the floor, giving her clean looks from her favorite mid-range spots without any real contest. It was like watching someone dominate a pickup game and then claiming they're ready for the Olympics. But reality has a funny way of crashing parties, and reality...
It's important to be physical with like Paige Bueckers. Can you talk about the defensive game plan for Dallas and like how your team was able to hold them to their fewest points of the season?
Yeah, it started, with our attention to detail with Paige. I thought, Slim was very physical, stayed in her space, and the actions that we guarded her in, we were very aggressive, showed multiple bodies, and kind of, made her hesitant to use the ball screen a little bit. I thought we rotated.
Showed up wearing Seattle storm green. Fresh off her manufactured crowning moment, Paige strolled into Seattle like she was still riding high from her coronation parade. The problem was the Storm weren't interested in rolling out red carpets. Instead, they rolled out traps, aggressive contests, and the kind of physicality that would make NFL linebackers nod in approval. Coach Noel Quinn had telegraphed the game plan before tip-off, essentially saying it was time to see if this princess could handle the Caitlin Clark treatment. Spoiler alert, she absolutely could not.
Clark treatment for the first time in her career, and it looked bad. It looked real bad. Everybody was running around. Yeah, she was cooking 44 points versus the Sparks. They didn't play a lick of defense, letting this girl play one-on-one basketball in every area of the floor, letting her post up in the mid-range area one-on-one. Now, I'm giving credit. She's a bucket in one-on-one, especially from that mid-range, from the free throw line down area. But this is the first time we watch teams actively be persistent about taking away her spots and what
followed wasn't a basketball game. It was a masterclass in defensive demolition. Paige finished with a pathetic 11 points, not 11 in the first half, not 11 in the first quarter, but 11 points for the entire game on a horrific 2 for 11 shooting performance. 0 assists, just 2 rebounds. That box score read less like a future superstar and more like someone who got completely lost on a basketball court. Seattle's defensive coordinator explained it perfectly after the game, talking about how they showed multiple bodies.
And do you want to know what she did as soon as she got blitzed in doubles? She passed. Paige Bueckers, look, she played decent amount early in the game. The game was kind of over and she got subbed out. Paige Bueckers shot 7 times.
Stayed physical in her space and made her hesitant to even use basic ball screens. The moment Paige faced anything resembling real defensive pressure, she folded like a house of cards in a hurricane. And here's where the story gets truly fascinating, because while Paige was wilting under one single night of legitimate defensive attention, Caitlin Clark has been living in that storm for over a year straight. The receipts on this are absolutely brutal and undeniable. 17% of all flagrant fouls committed during the entire 2024 WNBA season were against Caitlin Clark alone. Let that sink in for a moment. One player absorbed nearly 1/5 of the league's most egregious fouls. That's not basketball. That's open season targeting with a green light from the front office. The Chicago Sky turned fouling Clark into a personal hobby, accounting for 80% of those flagrant fouls by themselves. Meanwhile, Paige was getting the kid glove treatment, floating around like she was still playing exhibition games in college. The first time she faced even a fraction of the intensity that Clark deals with nightly, she completely disappeared. Her shots vanished, her efficiency evaporated, and her entire game looked hollow and manufactured. Now, let's talk numbers, because that's what the media has been leaning on to sell. This Paige's superior narrative. Clark's rookie averages 19 points, 8.4 assists, and 5.7 rebounds per game, all while being hacked, bumped, and fouled harder than anyone else in the league. Paige's rookie numbers, 19.7 points, 5.3 assists, and 4.1 rebounds. On paper, she edges Clark slightly in scoring, and that's exactly what ESPN and their allies have been screaming about from the mountaintops. But numbers without context are just meaningless statistics. And the context here is everything. Clark's buckets came while she was the primary target of every single defensive scheme in the league. She absorbed flagrant fouls at twice the rate of any other player, with teams literally instructing their defenders to get physical with her as part of their official game plan. And she still delivered night after night. Bueckers, on the other hand, floated through games with defenders giving her space, rotating late, and allowing her to build up efficiency numbers that looked impressive on ESPN highlight reels, but crumbled the instant anyone actually decided to guard her seriously. When Seattle finally flipped the script and decided to treat Paige like the star she was supposedly destined to be, it was like watching a glass figurine get tossed into a construction zone. 2 made field goals on 11 attempts, 0 assists, and just 2 rebounds. That's not efficiency. That's complete and total exposure. And here's what makes this even worse for Paige's future prospects. The Storm didn't just beat her. They built a detailed blueprint that every other team in the league is going to copy and paste for the rest of her career. Brittany Sykes bodied her on the perimeter every single possession. Skylar Diggins-Smith rotated over to cut off her driving lanes before she could even think about attacking the rim. Gabby Williams and Erica Wheeler took turns contesting every shot attempt, making sure nothing came easy. This is what Caitlin Clark has been dealing with since her very first professional game, and it's what Paige got for exactly one night. The result? She folded faster than a lawn chair in a tornado. Of course, Paige's defenders immediately rushed in with their prepared list of excuses. She's still recovering from her ACL injury, they claimed. She's shaking off rust. She just needs time to find her rhythm. Nice try. But that injury happened years ago, and Clark never got the luxury of a grace period when she entered the league. She came in as public enemy number 1, with every team wanting to test her, foul her, and physically intimidate her from day one. No soft entries, no easy games, no adjustment period. Just pure fire from the opening tip, and she not only survived, but absolutely thrived in that environment. Meanwhile, Paige was handed a velvet runway into professional basketball, and the second someone pulled that carpet away, she tripped over her own manufactured hype. That's not superstar DNA. That's media fabrication collapsing under the weight of reality. The Dallas Wings drafted her number 1 overall, gave her every possible opportunity to succeed, and still wound up with a 9-28 record, completely dead in the water and nowhere near playoff contention. So much for the savior of the league narrative. Compare that to what Caitlin Clark accomplished in her rookie season. She took the Indiana Fever from basement dwellers to legitimate playoff contenders in exactly 12 months. But Clark didn't just carry her own team. She carried the entire league on her shoulders. Attendance records? That's all Clark. National television deals bringing unprecedented exposure? Clark again. Merchandise sales exploding across every demographic? You guessed it. That's the Clark effect in action. Paige couldn't even prevent her own team from sliding into complete irrelevance during her debut season. And somehow we're supposed to believe she's the next generational talent? The Wings rank near the bottom of the league in attendance, playing in front of empty civic centers, while Clark is selling out arenas from coast to coast. The disconnect between media hype and actual reality couldn't be more obvious if it came with flashing neon signs. Here's the fundamental truth that the league and ESPN refuse to acknowledge. Caitlin Clark isn't just another talented player who happened to get hot at the right time. She's Tiger Woods. She's Serena Williams. She's LeBron James. She transcends her sport in ways that happen maybe once in a generation, possibly once in a lifetime. You don't manufacture that kind of impact with press releases and carefully curated highlight packages. It either exists naturally or it doesn't, and Clark has it in abundance, while Paige simply doesn't. The behavioral differences under pressure tell the complete story. Every time Seattle brought a blitz or double team, Paige's immediate response was to give up the ball and never look to get it back. She just surrendered, showing zero of the competitive fire that defines actual superstars. Clark, meanwhile, continues to take contested threes from 30 feet out, drive through obvious hacks, shrug off elbows to the ribs, and still deliver highlight reel performances that make hostile crowds fall silent in appreciation. August 22nd, 2025 should be marked in WNBA history books, but not for the reasons anyone expected. This wasn't Paige Bueckers' coronation as the next face of women's basketball. This was the night the manufactured hype officially died. The night the media's carefully constructed false narrative imploded in real time for everyone to see. The night fans got undeniable proof that there is no next Caitlin Clark. There's Caitlin Clark standing alone at the top, and then there's everyone else fighting for scraps underneath. The takeaway here couldn't be clearer if it was written in skywriting above every basketball arena in America. Caitlin Clark remains the gold standard, the player who isn't just elevating herself, but transforming the entire sport for generations to come. Paige Bueckers might develop into a nice player, but after Seattle exposed every weakness in her game, she might not even deserve to be mentioned in the same conversation as Clark. The WNBA and ESPN need to stop manufacturing fake rivalries and start appreciating the once-in-a-lifetime generational talent they actually have, because fans aren't buying the manufactured hype anymore. They're investing in authentic greatness, and that greatness has a name: Caitlin Clark.